you were talking to me earlier about Nintendo, and
And you know,
and
like
uh,
they,
and you unpacked a lot of history, and quite frankly, I couldn't keep up with it because it was just a lot. So I decided, spontaneously, you know what? Why don't we just shoot a podcast about this? Because this is a this is a lot of knowledge that needs to be shared, and so here we are, and
yeah.
you are going to give us a history lesson about.
Mostly Nintendo, ET, video game crash, and everything. And it's actually why Nintendo's really big,
Yeah,
because they stopped video game crash by making good games instead of just pumping new ones out now.
I see.
So
So which games crash, like the PC games or?
no, not crash. I mean crashes and people stopped buying games and
Yeah.
consoles and everything,
Okay.
and they were losing money from that.
All right.
And Nintendo had their start off in Japan with the Famicom. And when they were making the Famicom, they had an idea for Super Nintendo, but as in the time, it would have been way too expensive to produce.
So what's a Famicom?
It's like a NES, but in Japan, and it's got smaller cartridges. The controls are you can't take the controllers off of the console.
Okay. So what do you mean? So the controllers are attached to the console.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's have a look at what it looks like. And,
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, there it is. The thing at the top, that's the disc system.
okay. So
There it is. There it is. That's the disc system at the bottom. That's a picture of the console.
all right. Okay.
That's the disc system. That's the thing they
Okay.
play some games on. That's what I was talking about before. How they wanted to end off the Famicom, and so that's why they made Mario. Basically, Nintendo had their start off with this thing.
Yeah.
And so what was going on is, they weren't that big at the time. They'd produced Pong consoles. You know what those are?
Yeah. But it didn't.
You didn't really play anything other than...
That was Nintendo.
Yeah.
Okay. Pong consoles. Yeah.
They weren't the only one, but,
All right.
that's how they started off. And
Okay.
so, Nintendo, had this thing, which at the time would have been very powerful. But,
Mm-hmm.
it only released in Japan. And they originally, when they were taking the Famicom over to the places like here, US. I'm not good with countries and stuff, so I'm only just saying places that come to the top of my head. They what they did was they actually asked Atari if they could license it, get it over here to the US and Australia and everything. So I'm not sure how the deal came off. I think it might have fell through or something like that. I don't know. But I do know that was going to happen at one point in time. And so what's going on is they were going to do it themselves. So what they did was they had a few designers, and they designed this thing. I think it was called the Lunchbox. So they designed this thing called the Lunchbox. Nintendo, I don't think Nintendo really wanted that.
Yeah.
So they set out to go do something else. I think Nintendo had the idea of making it more VCR-like.
Yeah.
So they had pictured an image of the NES going next to your VCR, like it would be one thing you would commonly use.
Yeah, because when I look at the NES, right?
This thing.
See this one.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to my mind is back in the early 1980s, our first ever VCR was a VCR called Akai. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Yes, so this was the VCR we first ever owned.
I get the similarities.
And there you go. Back in the early 80s, we had this one, and I think we didn't really use it much. I remember we watched. I think we had the VCR, but I was too young. I did love I did have a great childhood, like the place we lived, and my mom just came from overseas, and she brought this, and I didn't really know what it was. I later realized that you can just play the same thing over and over again. And I remember there was this one movie called The Italian Job. We used to watch it all the time. And anyway, so yeah, so I had such great memories with this one. This was a popular model in Sri Lanka, and every time I see the NES, I see sort of the similarities, like the contours and the lines and everything. Yeah. So
Yeah, you want to show everyone a picture of that?
so you were saying that they were going to design the NES to resemble what?
VCRs,
Mm-hmm.
you know how they'd have kind of the top where you could shove in a
Yeah.
VHS tape.
Yeah.
That's what they were basing it off of.
Okay.
And I think they were able to put the NES in more places because of that, and
All
it
right.
sold better
Yeah.
because of that for some odd reason. And so when they were, they also based it off of some. I think there were other VCRs that looked exactly like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we saw a picture of one that had the exact same colors that was before the NES. It could have been a game console. It could have been an Atari console actually.
Mm-hmm.
And and they based it off of that because other companies were doing that at the time.
Yeah.
So they got the design they wanted, and so they released it everywhere else. And it started getting big in other places, and that's why the Nintendo was so big, is because they ended the video game crash. We've already touched
Yeah.
on the video game crash.
When was the video game crash?
I'm not sure. I do know it was after E.T. came out
Okay.
on the Atari. So you want to look that up, actually?
The video game crash, yeah?
Yeah,
1983.
1983. Oh, Nintendo released their consoles
Okay.
right.
The video game crash of 1983, known as the Atari shock in Japan, was a large-scale recession in the video games industry that occurred from 1983 to 85, primarily in the United States. The crash was attributed to several factors, including the market saturation in the number of game consoles and available games, as well as waning interest in console games in favor of personal computers. Revenues peaked at around 3.2 billion in 1983, then fell to around 100 million by 1985. So it's a big crash, a drop of almost 97%. The crash abruptly ended what is retrospectively considered the second generation of console video gaming in North America. Lasting about 2 years, this crash shook the then booming industry, and it led to the bankruptcy of several companies, including companies producing home computers and video game consoles in the region. Analysts of the time expressed doubt about the long-term viability of the video game consoles and software. Alright, so then here's the Nintendo part. The North American video game console industry recovered a few years later, mostly due to the widespread success of Nintendo Entertainment System (NES) in 1986. Nintendo designed the NES as the Western branding for its Famicom console, which we just talked about, originally released in 1983, to avoid the missteps which caused the 1983 crash and the stigma which the video games had at the time. Oh, very good. So that's interesting. So, and they go on to talk about the causes and factors, the stuff, the Atari things that flooded. This is the Commodore 64, and yeah, we should do a episode just on this one day. But yeah, do continue. So, where were we?
I think I was at the design of the NES.
Yeah.
And in fact, the way you put the games in, have you seen how you do that? You kind of lift up the top, and you'd shove in a game like you would with a VCR.
Okay. So this is the yeah. So where do we shove in again in the NES?
Yeah. The NES was based off of stuff like that.
Okay. So this is the original NES.
Yeah, and you'd open that thing,
Okay.
and you'd shove a game in there.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. You'll edit in a picture of the NES.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine. Okay. So this was the original NES design, but it was dropped. What was it dropped?
I don't know. Didn't look like. I'm not sure if that's the original NES.
Let's have a look anyway. It was. It was dropped because it would have significantly increased the price. Yeah, Netflix.
I mean, it looks a lot smaller than what it actually is, so I guess why. So they had a few models of the NES released.
Okay.
So there was also the one called the Lunchbox, right? That was one of the designs for the NES.
NES Launchbox.
I don't think there's any pictures of it because I would have shown it off where we'd found it. So
Okay.
yeah, it's not coming up. So they it's the NES sold well, and in fact, I think the Super Famicom, the original model of the NES,
Yeah.
I think that is probably one of the longest lasting consoles I've ever heard of, because it lasted 12 years.
Yeah.
That's 1995 is when is when Nintendo stopped making games, and so that would have been a long time. Imagine owning a Famicom in Japan in 1993. You would have had a glorious 12 years of gameplay.
So so what you're telling me is that Famicom came in 1983 and
83, yeah.
and Nintendo was continuing to support it till but
It's supported till the
1995. So
Yeah,
that's
till the
12 years of
yeah.
So I mean, like, these days, I am as you know, I'm still a little bit against the fact that the PS5 is coming out, because I think PS4 is still very good, and I want to hang on to that for a bit longer, and because of that, I was feeling a little bit, I was like, maybe Sony should have waited a couple of more years.
I don't
and,
think so. 7 years is a long time
Yeah.
for a console.
But what is it that I mean, I understand that they can do a lot more with graphics and stuff,
Yeah.
but overall, PS4 is still quite, it's not
It's still-
obsolete in terms of the technology. It's got everything that you want. I mean, what more can you have? Seriously, I mean, but
They're still making games for the PS4.
yeah,
That Spider-Man game they've released for the PS5 is coming to the PS4.
yeah. So we're going on a tangent here, but what happens to? Oh, now we have a huge collection of games on our PS4, right? We bought a lot from the PS Store. So when we get the PS5, let's just say we get a PS5, it's
Yeah.
not going to happen anytime soon. But once we do, are those games? Are we still going to be able to access those games?
Some games, because this is why I think Xbox is going to dominate soon, because I think they bought out the company that, if I'm not wrong, that made Assassin's Creed, I think, or
Yeah.
Skyrim. I can't remember, but so Xbox is going to have a lot of compatibility with those
Yeah.
games, and they're also going to make more.
Okay.
Because they're not doing so hot right now, but they will soon. I know that.
Yeah.
But PlayStation, they'll have backwards compatibility, no doubt about it. But some games we have will definitely not be able to be backwards compatible with PlayStation 5. Like, the games we have are big
Yeah.
in PlayStation 5, so I'm sure all of them will be compatible with the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
So that'll that won't be a problem. Because we've got like Destiny 2
Mm-hmm.
and Dirt 4. Those are big games, and that's not Well, we have, but that is you know, that is, those are big games, and obviously that's going to be backwards compatible with the PS5, because
Yeah.
you know they're big games.
Yeah. So anyway, so getting back to NES, so why you're saying that Nintendo's so was Nintendo producing family these games the Famicom games until 1995?
Yeah,
Well, so what about the NES then? So if they released
they would have done that till 1995 too.
so they had both NES and Famicom running
Till
together.
19, yeah,
And they were supported.
yeah.
So does that make Famicom the longest um, uh, reigning console in the I mean there of course I'm not talking in terms of let's just say for example some old console from the 1970s like the one we talked about in the last episode, which is what was it?
Magnavox.
Magnum. So if Magnavox, which is owned by Philips, releases one tomorrow, then you can say that it's been more than 30 years since they released. But that doesn't count because they've stopped making those games and
I'm
supporting
pretty
them.
sure Magnavox made TVs in the 90s.
Yeah, but they didn't make. But we are talking about the console.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So how we factor this in is which console did not had the longest lifetime. Basically, that means the company was the company was producing it every year and producing new games and supporting in that,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
way. Yeah. So that
Google that, because I think a Famicom is, but I'm not entirely sure. Because it'll come up with, like, the PlayStation 4 or something. And it could be something bigger, because, some...
okay. So longest lasting gaming consoles. This is giving me something that I did not expect. Okay. All right. Okay. Sega Great Dreamcast from 1998 to 2007. That's a perfect word. The Dreamcast would have been a hit back in the day. See, I don't know if I'm not sure.
This is true, yeah.
But then, but CDI never caught on, and then a couple of years later they had the CD-ROMs for the for your computers, and then by then I remember the encyclopedia was already available on CD-ROM, so which you were able to get for fairly cheaply. So you didn't need to invest on a whole machine when you could just get the CD-ROM in your computer. So anyway, I remember this one because this one I was actually talking to my friend Alan about this. I was asking whether he remembered the two reps came from Philips and they brought us to the hall and they had this connected and they were trying to display what this machine is capable of doing, and they played they searched for different topics including Beatles, and they asked whether we like Beatles songs, and some was kids booed because kids back in the day they were not into old stuff. They were sort of into all the it was the MTV generation, and there were all kinds of stuff coming up. So nobody wanted to admit that they like Beatles, but or like old stuff, even though I wouldn't be ashamed to, I would choose Beatles over music from that generation any day, but each to their own. Anyway, we keep going. Okay, so I don't know if I can trust this list because it even has the Magnavox Odyssey 2000 and Odyssey 2 from 1978 to 2000. Okay, so let's say
right.
so they're not. I'm not sure what.
And they called the Odyssey brown. It was white and black, right?
Yeah. So what they're saying is that in certain countries like Brazil, because of tight import laws, this particular machine had in that part of the world because they get it to the networks, and so it kind of became a I mean all the fundamental was then 5 months that lasted longer for that show. So long system 2013. So this is more actually about games and everything. Yeah. So by 2003,
2003.
I can't remember.
I know this. Yeah, I was better.
5 years.
In 98 and
From 2003. That's the shortest master system. It has successors. Sega's Genesis is probably the longest living system ever made. Its library lacks the company's trademark mascot, the Sonic the Hedgehog, but the influential RPG franchise Phantasy Star got its start from Sega's premier console.
I don't believe that they've had a top present list.
Number 1, shortest, Virtual Boy, 19.
Yeah, that thing only had games till like for a few months. Yeah,
Alright.
9 games I think were on it.
Okay. Alright, so continue.
Where was I? I was at the Super. Was that the Super Nintendo? Was that the design of the Super Nintendo?
Design of Super Nintendo was to resemble the VHS.
No, that was the
VCRs.
NES design.
Yeah. So you were saying that we've learned that the NES and Famicom are kind of the same thing. You know, they say it's sort of a merger. Yeah, so because so
Hold on, let me go get a tissue for that. I'll be back in a second. So, sorry?
So getting back to this program. Okay. All right. So
Yeah?
so Famicom, they had a very long run. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I'm not sure about 2003, that's quite a bit of time, but they would have had 12 years. I keep freaking sneezing. Give me a second. So yeah, that I'm sure it would have been to tell. So let's get on to the Genesis. That was, I'm not sure why that was made. I'm pretty sure it came after. Yeah, it obviously came after the Master System. That was the thing we saw that said
Genesis. What's Genesis?
Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive, I think they called it over here.
Sega Genesis or the Mega Drive. Yeah, I remember that. We had a reboot of this one. Yeah. So when did that come out? In 1988. All right. Okay.
Oh yeah. But so the Genesis, I'm not sure why it was made, but I'm pretty sure it was so Sega could keep up. 88 would have been a powerful system in 1988.
Yeah.
Because we still had the NES then, and the 8-bit NES had to go against the 16-bit Genesis. So
Okay, so this was 16-bit. All right.
yeah, that would have been around 2 times what the NES was. And then in 1989, Nintendo made the Super Nintendo. And in fact, Sonic the Hedgehog was made. Like, people might not believe this, but it is true that Sonic the Hedgehog was specifically made to, target Nintendo's Mario. Like, that's why he was made entirely. So
It kind of Yeah,
can
I
see.
can see the resemblance. There's, it seems like they kind of copied it.
Yeah, yeah. It was made to compete against Mario
Yeah,
because Nintendo was dominating at the time,
yeah.
and so Sega wanted some of that too. And so when they were designing Sonic the Hedgehog, the original designer, I can't remember his name, Naoto Oshima, I think that was his name.
Or Sonic the Hedgehog's.
Yeah, it's Naoto Oshima. I know that. I know.
Original. It's yeah. So the programmer Yuki Naka and artist Naoto
Oshima.
Oshima are generally credited with creating Sonic.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure they had. I'm not sure. Not like a contest. Because Sonic the Hedgehog was actually going to be a rabbit,
Okay.
a yellow rabbit that would go around hopping on crap. I don't know, but Naoto Oshima, I think he proposed Sonic a Hedgehog to Sega, and that's how it happened. In fact, I think he had a doll he brought over. He made one,
Okay.
and he showed it to Sega,
Yeah.
and he still has that. In fact, he showed it off. In fact, he kept it on his desk for a long time.
Who did?
Naoto Oshima, he's the guy that
Okay.
created. He's the guy that showed Sega Sonic and.
So it was a rabbit doll.
No, it was a Sonic doll. It was a Sonic doll.
Okay.
Because
So
he wasn't the guy that designed the rabbit, it was another guy.
okay. So it's a Sonic doll.
Yeah. You probably won't find it, it's not really that big around anywhere, but
Okay.
I think it's that one, the first picture. That was the picture he showed off to Sega,
All right.
to show the character he had in mind for a video game.
This is. It says that is this the very first Sonic plush ever made? So-
Yeah, he made the plush to show it off to, Sega.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And that's the original design of him.
Okay.
That's a meme.
Okay. All right.
So that's what he showed off to Sega. Sega liked it. I think. I don't know why they chose that, but Naoto Oshima, he put a few things he liked. In fact, if you look at Sonic's shoes, they were based off of Michael Jackson's shoes.
Oh, okay. Oh, excellent. That makes sense. Oh wow.
So, yeah. In fact, they say his shoes are the reason on why he's so fast.
Oh, so does he do the moonwalk and everything as well?
No, but I'd love that if he did.
Okay.
I just want him to go past the end of the stage and him just moonwalk off of it.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's cool. That's what he made. But there was concept art shown off that Sonic was going to be a yellow rabbit. He wasn't designed by Naoto Oshima, but he was. But that was what Sonic was going to be. In fact, I don't even think his name was Sonic.
All right.
I think Naoto Oshima was the guy that proposed Sonic the Hedgehog.
All right.
So that's what Sega was originally going to do. After Nintendo saw that, they immediately got to work. After '88, in '89 they released a Super Nintendo. And in fact, this is completely unrelated to what we're talking about, but this is something interesting. When the NES released, that had some educational games.
Yeah.
And so when they were making the Super Nintendo, parents weren't buying it.
All right.
It's because, when the NES came out, I mean, come on, you'd buy it for games. You wouldn't buy it for educational games to teach a child.
Yes.
No. They would use it for things.
Yeah.
And so parents didn't like any amounts. You buy this and there's nothing, kids actually learn off of. And so what Nintendo did is they made a game called Mario Paint.
Alright. When did that come out?
I'm not sure, but I do know it probably would have been sometime after the Super Nintendo's release.
Okay.
Because, they need it to sell, right?
Yes.
So that's why they made it. That's completely unrelated. So, after they were making Mario World and Mario World 2, they had an idea for this thing called Project Reality.
Mm-hmm.
Also, known as after Project Reality, I think they had an idea for this thing called Ultra 64. We'll get back to that a bit later. I just want to explain the Game Boy thing I was talking to you about.
Alright.
So when they were making the Game Boy Color, they released the Game Boy Color. When they were making the Game Boy Color, they had an idea for a very powerful kind of thing you'd bring around with you. I'm not sure if it was 64-bit, but I do know it was something like that. That you would bring, you could probably play Mario 64 on. It was gonna have maybe a Mario game on there, but they delayed it, and then they eventually just didn't make it because we didn't get anything like that till 2009. So, and you may think, the DS came out a long while ago, but the DS had a version of Mario 64. That didn't, there were some aspects that looked better, and that looked worse from the original.
That's the Mario 64 from Nintendo 64.
Not exactly it was remade.
Yeah.
On the DS.
Alright.
But it wasn't, exactly Mario 64. There were some assets that were worse, some assets that they were better.
Okay.
But it couldn't really play N64 games, Some assets were still too powerful for it. So, the 3DS eventually did come out and start giving more handheld power, having more power in the handheld systems.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, when they were after, they couldn't make that powerful system for obvious reasons, I would have been that would have taken a long time, also be very expensive. So when they couldn't, make that,
Yeah.
they had an idea
Mm-hmm.
that would make the Game Boy look very good,
Yeah.
but also be half of what they wanted.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure it was going to be 64-bit, the original handheld, which is not going to be possible for long. I'm pretty sure you couldn't bring Mario 64 around with you till the Nintendo Switch version came out this year.
Yeah.
So when Nintendo found that they couldn't make that, they started to work on the GBA.
All right.
And that was 32-bit, and it was released everywhere.
Okay.
And so that was kind of based off of the 64-bit system you were going to hold around and take around with you.
Yes. All right.
But that was on a completely unrelated topic that I was talking about. So, after the Super Nintendo and when the Super Nintendo and Sega were, battling in the video game war, Sega did lose to that.
Yeah. This is throughout the 90s, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nintendo had this idea for a thing called Project Reality. And then they moved on to Ultra 64, and eventually...
What's Ultra 64?
It's the beta of N64.
Did they ever release it?
No, but I'm pretty sure there are a few made, and people have had a hold of them. Yeah, there it is. That picture right there. That's what it looks like. In fact, it looked very similar to the N64.
So
It is
this
the
is
same.
Nintendo Ultra 64.
Yeah. That's what it is. You know, it looks very similar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Project Reality didn't have any looks to it, but that's you know, like all Nintendo did was grab the Ultra 64 kind of case and put N64 on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
So this is Nintendo Ultra 64 controller prototype discovered. Okay. So previously the plan has been to release the console with the name Ultra Famicom in Japan and Nintendo Ultra 64 in other markets.
Another
Re-
Famicom.
Yeah. The rumors circulated attributing the name change to the possibility of legal action by Konami, ownership of the Ultra Games trademark. Nintendo said that the trademark issues was not a factor and the sole reason for any name change was to establish a single worldwide brand and a logo for the console. The new global name, the Nintendo 64, was proposed by Earthbound series developer Shigesato Itoi. Okay, let's just settle to Shigesato Itoi. Okay?
Shigesato Toy.
Okay, Shigesato. The prefix of the model numbered scheme for hardware and software across the Nintendo 64 platform is NUS, a reference to console original name Nintendo Ultra 64. So there we go. So originally it was meant to be an Ultra 64, but they settled for Nintendo 64.
For copyright reasons, I think, yeah.
So why do they call it 64?
Oh, because it was 64 bits.
Alright.
Like, bits is like, how it looks.
Okay.
Like, what game, I don't know how many bits Atari had. I don't think it'll come up if you Google search it, because, you know, bits weren't really a word till, you know, the 80s, I guess, but...
Yeah.
But, it's kind of like, gigabytes in video games right now. But that was what they originally called it.
Yeah.
So, 64 would have been a lot for a console. It would have been, you know, fully 3D, instead of, like, games like Atari that had maybe 4-bit, or 2, something like that. So, yeah, that's what they are, kind of. It describes what the games look like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what bits are, and there was actually, okay, this is also on a completely unrelated topic. There's a way you can play GoldenEye if you hold two N64 controllers with both the thumbsticks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way of playing GoldenEye like that with two thumbsticks.
Okay.
You plug one controller into the first and second player port. You could play like that. That's
I don't get it. What are you talking about?
If this is on a completely unrelated topic,
Okay.
but if you plug one controller into the first play slot on the N64 and the second play slot on the N64,
Yeah.
you could hold both controllers in both hands and either the thumbsticks.
Okay.
You could have one thumbstick to turn and one to move.
Yeah.
That was a way of playing the game. I'm sure it was only used in one game, I think, GoldenEye. I'm not even sure if I'm not even sure if you could just plug it in and it works, or there's an option in the game.
Alright.
But I do know that you can do that in the game.
You know, I used to love GoldenEye. I was pretty good at it because when I first came to Australia, I stayed at a dorms in Melbourne, and across from the University of Melbourne, across from the University of Melbourne campus. It was called the Brooks Gillespie House, and I believe it was a part of the Royal Women's Hospital, but they've turned it into a sort of I don't know what the deal is today, but I know at the time they've turned it into a student dorm, sort of student accommodation section of the hospital. So, and on our floor, we lived in the third floor, I think. One of the guys got a Nintendo 64 for his birthday, and he was nice enough to leave it in the common room for everyone to play from the floor.
Yeah.
So GoldenEye was sort of the game that was there. There was another game, I can't remember the name, but GoldenEye.
What was in the other game?
It was basically like, I don't know if they were sort of jet streams or
Pilot Wings.
it could be. It's just flying across various various circuits, and I do remember that the second or the third one was in Chinatown, and that was pretty hard. I remember. So anyway, doesn't matter. Going back, so I finished. I finished GoldenEye so many times in single mode, and then in double mode, like there was this mode where you'd be running in different rooms, and you can pick any character, and I used to always pick Natalia because I used to enjoy kicking every guy's ass for playing a female character, and I was very good at it. For after, I mean, I lost a couple of times to this British guy who was who was a natural video game console player. You can tell that this guy's been playing it all his life. You can sort of spot the difference between a guy who just picks up a console once every few years and a guy who actually plays it literally like right throughout. There's a difference in their reflexes and how it comes to them naturally. Even if you play a brand new game they've never played before, they can you can see that they're natural at it. There's an art to this. So this guy was kicking my ass and he beat me so many times. But then I kind of learned of him, and then from that point on, I never lost that particular double game that you play, the two-player multiplayer game, including the guy who beat me and anyone else. I remember guys crying and screaming about how the game is not working every time it happens. It's just I was just there, and you can see that they were being they were such panty wearing whiners every time they lost the game, and it was kind of fun because I was sort of this quiet backward guy, Sri Lankan guy who doesn't say much, but while I was playing on Nintendo against these boys, I was a god for a while there because yeah. Anyway, I might have finished a single mode at least 3 or 4 times, with different. I think it had several different endings as well, but I know that in the end you get to kiss Natalia in the forest after you beat that horrible woman who crushes you with her thighs.
What do you think about the N64? Let's hear something from you. Yeah.
Well, N64 was. I mean, definitely. I've only literally just played GoldenEye, and I think it holds even today. I mean, we had this discussion the other day about the greatest game of all time and N64 game of all time, and what did you pick? What did you say?
I picked Mario or Pilot Wings.
Yeah, and I said no, there is no way that GoldenEye. I believe that N64 survived it because of GoldenEye. Obviously, I was wrong because I was wrong about so many things. For one, I didn't realize that it had so many other big games. I wasn't an expert in any of this stuff. I'm just going by my living experience, which was that there was an N64 and it had GoldenEye, and I was so shocked by just the the realism of the game. I mean, it was, aside from the fact that it was so incredibly fun, it also had so many moments that you can if you were a fan of the movie series, you just know, there's a scene where walk into the you open the gates and you walk into this bridge where there are like towers with guards on top of the towers, and you have to take a sniper rifle and take them out. And these are things that you see in the movies. And and it was, I would say that, and say it'll that's one of the games that will even hold today. You should be able to play GoldenEye today and have fun. I think I I think it can be, I think it will hold well today. And it's interesting that we are talking about GoldenEye right now, because I don't know when GoldenEye came out. I'd say in the mid 90s, 95 or something like that. So
What do you mean, like the movie or the
the
game?
movie, yeah, the with Pierce Brosnan being that was his first.
I thought it was an older series, like a really old series.
No, GoldenEye was Pierce Brosnan. So that was the time when Pierce Brosnan became the James Bond. So.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So most of us knew Pierce Brosnan. Most of us from my part of the world already knew Pierce Brosnan because there was a detective series called The Remington Steele back in the 80s or whatever. And Pierce Brosnan was the main character, and he was very handsome, and we all thought that Pierce Brosnan would be a very good choice for James Bond, and he was. I'm actually, he's one of my favorites. But while we are talking about James Bond, I think we should also touch up on the death of the what most people consider the greatest James Bond actor of all time, Sean Connery. So rest in peace. He was an amazing human being, and he had a great voice, and yeah, hands down the greatest James Bond. I'm sure most will agree. And you were actually, we are going off on a tangent here, but obviously, but you shared some articles with me the other day about the real James Bond, the man that James Bond character was based out of.
Yeah.
What's his name? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
So this guy, I mean, I was very, I mean, thank you for sharing this. This is very interesting because you shared this literally 2 days after Sean Connery's death. And it's one of Britain's greatest spies of the Second World War. But White Rabbit. The White Rabbit, like in as in Wonderland has White Rabbit. The Matrix also says follows the White Rabbit. That's interesting. Has been identified as the inspiration behind Ian Fleming's James Bond. He is the dashing secret agent who surrounded himself with women, ruthlessly dispatched his enemies, and had a series of swashbuckling adventures. It is not James Bond, but a real Second World War hero who had now been identified as the inspiration behind Ian Fleming's character. And his name is a new biography, Wing Commander Forrest. Wing Commander Forrest Tommy Yo Thomas. So that's the name. So he's a Wing Commander. Forrest Tommy Yo Thomas, one of Britain's greatest secret agents of the war, claims the writer based the character 007 on the spy, recreated many of his. So this guy, so 007 movies recreated many of his real life experiences. I mean, that's just wow. What can I say? Respect to this guy. Yeah, we should. I'll try and get a. I mean, that's interesting that there's actually a real man behind the James Bond inspiration, because I was the other day I was looking at the real inspiration behind Indiana Jones character. Actually, no, it's been a while, and I've sort of become a big hero of this guy since. So there was a guy named Roy Chapman Andrews. and he is widely regarded as the real life inspiration for the Indiana Jones character. He I think he discovered he had some expeditions to Mongolia, and he discovered some dinosaur eggs and which he said he knew that guy lived his life. He had to shoot off bandits from the back of a jeep truck and stuff, and he uh, he was bringing a lot of artifacts to museums. And also Roy Chapman Andrews, shout out to him as well. He was the inspiration. So just like this your Thomas guy is the inspiration for James Bond, Roy Chapman Andrews it was the inspiration for Indiana Jones. And it's incredible when you think about it that that these real people exist, don't you? I mean, imagine a real life Indiana Jones, a guy who goes to all these places like Egypt or Mongolia and recover ancient artifacts and fight the bandits, and you have to be a warrior and an archaeologist and everything. So what a rich life, yeah. It is. It must have been just. I mean, when I sometimes think about what kind of life, what kind of legacy I want to leave behind, when I look back at, what did I do? It kind of frustrates me that I always think of people like Roy Chapman Andrews, and I was like, oh my God, now that is a life well lived. I mean, I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, I would never be able to do that. And but he's sort of up there, as he's sort of the draw. He's the benchmark of what I think of what an adventurous life could be. Yeah. But anyway, let's get back to the game. Yeah. So you were saying, so we were talking about James Bond, and we were talking about the inspiration, the man behind the inspiration. But but more importantly, to backtrack. We were talking about GoldenEye, and so I challenged you in regards to how much success GoldenEye had compared to
Mario 64.
Obviously, I was wrong. I mean, the GoldenEye sales were no. I mean, GoldenEye was there in the top. Like it was in the top 5 or whatever. But there was a huge difference in the sales. So
Yeah, I mean, people would have bought a lot of Mario 64 when it came out because freaking Mario. It was
was
the
it was m- w- was did Nintendo have shooting games? When was the first? What was the first shooting game Nintendo did? Like the violence game?
Oh, I don't know. It could be on the N64. Might have been Doom or something. You might have to look a bit into that.
So I would say assume it's not GoldenEye, is it? One of the most wild. Okay, list of controversial video games. So Nintendo. So Mortal Kombat was on Nintendo as well.
Kind of been because Doom was on the Super Nintendo too.
Okay, Nintendo. So, based on the James Bond's films, Rare GoldenEye was released in 1997, and as of 2007, it was the best-selling Nintendo 64 game in United States. So, sure, see, I'm not wrong. So, based on the James Bond films, the Rare's GoldenEye 7 was released in 1997, and as of 2004, it was the best-selling Nintendo 64 game in the United States. in United States. So I'm not surprised, you know. It was a landmark console first-person shooter and was highly acclaimed for its atmospheric single-player levels and the well-designed multiplayer maps. It featured sniper rifles and the ability to perform headshots and incorporated stealth elements. Alright, so 3D graphics. So I don't know if that is the Nintendo's first ever shooting game. So
Probably like the first place.
best Nintendo Switch.
Don't worry about it,
Okay,
because
that's-
we're not going to touch on it too much.
Okay.
So.
Best first ever first person shooter. Okay, so all right, so I won't be. I mean, I don't know. I'm always when I think of Nintendo, I always think of just real, you know, kiddie stuff. Mario jumping cactuses and squashing turtles and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I don't think about shooters and that's why I always sort of think, did Nintendo make violent video games before GoldenEye? If there's anyone in the, you know, leave a comment if you know the history of Nintendo video games. What was the first ever violent video game released by Nintendo? Let us know in the comments. Okay,
So, back to the GoldenEye game. It's weird that you could control the game like that, because, you know what I was talking about GoldenEye, being controlled with two hands,
yeah.
with two thumbsticks instead of one.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was how you control the game. Actually, no, you'd hold the D-pad
Yeah.
and the thumbstick, right?
Yeah.
You'd hold it like this, not like this.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever then. And that's how, and that was a thing you could do in GoldenEye. That's probably, that's something Nintendo 64 didn't really do. I think GoldenEye was the only game. Yeah, I've said that before. But GoldenEye was actually meant to be much more than what it was on Nintendo 64.
Okay.
There were meant to be more characters and more stages and stuff.
Yeah.
I had to cut all of that out for rights and stuff, but it was going to be a lot more than what it was. So that's it's kind of how GoldenEye happened. I don't know any of the development history. Like GoldenEye was probably, not to say it was it's not a bad game, yeah, but I'm not sure. Rare made better looking games. Like Donkey Kong, that game looked real good. That game looked real good on the N64. But GoldenEye didn't look so great. It looked kind of bad for what Rare could do. And it was Rare working on it, so when it's Rare, it's going to be big on the N64. And didn't look that good on GoldenEye. It wasn't a bad game. You said it was.
Well, I mean, you have to understand, we are going back to 90s here. I mean, we had games like Doom and everything, but compared to those games, and I mean, Nintendo 64, the graphics were incredible, and there was so much. Even today, the reason why I say it holds up today is because when you play a lot of the games that came right afterwards, like Hitman and all those games, they had the same sort of not much. Okay, I mean, okay, if you take something like the new Grand Theft Auto, that's a whole different thing.
I don't mean like comparing it to a new game.
Yeah.
Look up Donkey Kong 64 gameplay, right? And then you'll see like how good it looked. And then look at GoldenEye, and you'll see that it wasn't that great, compared to like other companies would make it like what GoldenEye looked like, but I reckon Rare just I don't know. They didn't. In fact,
Yeah.
yeah, because for 6 months straight, Nintendo thought the game wasn't going to sell well. But they just stopped funding the game
Okay.
completely. They stopped making it. So Rare kept giving guys money. Nintendo did. You know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Donkey Kong looks so much better and some of the effects in the game.
I completely disagree with you. I mean, you know what it feels like? So when you play all this old,
Like, see what I mean? It looks a
No.
lot better.
No.
It does.
You see, this looks to me like, they have to put all these big texts and all. It's like the first ever. I remember the first ever when Monkey Island games came out first. Like in the early 90s or whatever. That's just what it feels like. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a bit more advanced. It's a bit more sophisticated. There's all these 3D movements and everything. But I mean, let's look at GoldenEye 64. Okay. Let's have a look at what it looks like. Okay, here we go. All right, now.
Like, I mean the animations of the people. Those
Okay.
didn't look too hard.
Let's just have a look at what the GoldenEye, and then you can understand this is a game from, well, Donkey days, from Donkey Kong days. All right, so what does it look like? See.
Yeah, look at that. It's not really... Like, the people don't look so, as what if Donkey Kong would have been.
It's Donkey Kong is like so childish, but just imagine how much fun this is just to.
It is fun, yeah. I'm not... Like I said before, it wasn't a bad
Look,
game.
look at the way glasses break when you shoot and stuff.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have been a hard animation, in fact. When...
Yeah.
All they'd had to do was get, like, kind of see-through pieces and make an animation where it falls down,
Alright.
Donkey Kong, they had to fit all that shit on one screen.
Yeah.
Like, look at, like, some of the...
Yeah,
it looks
I
like it's
remember
cut-
this guy. I hated this guy. I died a couple of times because of this guy. Yeah. Yeah, this was a fun mission. Anyway. Alright, so... Yeah, so you... Anyway, getting back to GoldenEye. That's what the cartridge looked like, which was amazing, with that very handsome face of Pierce Brosnan in
He'll edit a bit in.
okay, so yeah, it's,
I just thought that Donkey Kong looked a bit better, in my opinion.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a difference
'Cause
of
you can-
opinion.
Because, some of the... I mean, GoldenEye was kind of interesting how the game, like, kind of didn't happen. Because, without, Nintendo's funding, Rare had to give them all the money for it. Like, 6 months straight, they just thought that it would come to nothing soon. I mean, Nintendo was very wrong, but... Yeah. And like, imagine what this game would have had if it had all the rights to GoldenEye and if it had all the rights to 007. It would have had more characters, more stages. There are different weapons in the game, right? I would have thought that it would have had more weapons too. Because you only get to play as who do you play as in the game?
So I think you can play several characters. I do know that you play. I'm pretty sure you can play. I mean, I know in the multiplayer mode you can play several characters, but look, I can't remember. But I thought that Natalia, the girl, the Bond girl,
Yeah.
I thought she had some role to play as well. You have to. I know that. You can ruin a mission if you kill a certain people, and she would say, he was just a programmer, and then because the game was based. There was a faith-based game, so this is a single player mode. Yeah, she has to trust him. because they don't trust each other in many ways. James Bond, because they have different interests. So I don't know. Maybe I'm confusing this with Max Payne, because I know in Max Payne, especially number two, you had to play a character named Mona Sex. So I don't know. So maybe I can't remember, but I I think in Nintendo 64 you play more than James Bond.
So moving on from GoldenEye, we're gonna go to a game I think a bit before GoldenEye.
Okay.
Donkey Kong 64. I don't have much to say about this.
All right.
I just want to say some funny part of the development of this game.
Okay.
So when Rare was making this game,
Mm-hmm.
the beta of the game. So in Donkey Kong 64, he has this thing called a coconut blaster. Basically, I think you shoot coconuts. I'm not sure. I haven't played the game before. Most of what we're saying here is what we've heard and seen online. But some of it we obviously know is true.
Yep.
So when they were making the beta of this game,
Okay.
they put a real gun in, like a real shotgun. Donkey Kong holding a real shotgun, and
In the game.
yeah, in the game he'd shoot.
So it
enemies.
doesn't look like because games like these, they have the shooting, basically shooting weapons. They don't look like guns. They just look like something where you shoot tennis balls out of or whatever, right? Yeah. So
So he had a shotgun.
it's actual shotgun
Yeah.
that actually when you it goes like that.
I don't think he pumped. I was
Let's
pretty
have a
sure
look at what it looks like.
I'm not sure if you'll find it because
Donkey Kong 64 shotgun. Yeah.
yeah, it'll come up with the coconut blaster.
Okay, so they didn't.
There is footage of it, but I don't think you'll find it online.
So getting back to our original, so Donkey Kong had a real gun,
Yeah.
and this of course is with the chief Miyamoto. So as you can see here, and apparently the sound effects were pretty. His coconut gun. So the sound effects were pretty, realistic as well. All right. So eventually, that was the originally Donkey Kong had a real gun, and Miyamoto was not happy. It wasn't that he wasn't happy. He didn't exactly, he didn't blow a fuse or anything like that. But he decided, he had a smile about it, and he eventually designed the coconut blaster, which is very much it's something more compatible with the Donkey Kong world. But of course, what these people don't probably know is that coconuts kill a lot of people. Where I come from in Sri Lanka, if you have the coconut season, so you have to pluck all the coconuts off the trees, and if you don't, you are taking a walk down the coconut, under the coconut tree, a coconut drops on your head, you're dead, or you're seriously injured or brain dead, So yeah, it's so coconuts kill a lot of people. So I can see the coconut blaster being okay, maybe not as violent as a gun. But it is okay. But
imagine a gun bullet falling on.
How can you blast coconuts though?
I don't know.
I mean, what can you possibly?
I don't think you're supposed to give it much thought.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're going to, something like that. Yeah. So because the coconuts are not evenly shaped, and it's not like a if you look at a BB gun,
there are no bullets and
so
no, you don't see them.
You will have to have it's definitely has to have some sort of a very strange mechanism in it to blast a coconut. So anyway, so they changed it from a shotgun to a coconut blaster.
Yep. So They're pretty funny though. Me and Meta just saw one of the, children's icon holding a shotgun shooting people.
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess this is just for the Donkey Kong world because even though there are plenty of adults who play games, I think there there are certain lines they don't want to cross with this type of series. But at the same time, this is not a Nintendo policy. This is a policy for Donkey Kong because, as we know from GoldenEye, GoldenEye was fully violent in probably one of the most at that time period. It was one of those games that had an incredible range of guns and ways to kill people, and yeah, so yeah, it's interesting that different games, of course, have different policies because they attract different demographics.
Yeah. But it's, I think I do think that Miyamoto just seeing his GoldenEye was made to be a shooting game. This is a children's icon.
Yeah.
This is one thing you'd see in a lot of children's games. This is probably one of the first characters that would come to mind when you think of Nintendo, Donkey Kong. You wouldn't think of him holding a freaking shotgun shooting beavers, would you?
No.
Alright, Donkey Kong.
I do not think the shotgun does seem a bit out of place for that world. But I mean, with all the colors and the cartoonish sort of, yeah, it's definitely, I think Miyamoto had the right idea. I think the gun is way out of place. But yeah, the coconut blaster sounds good. Or he could have had something a little bit more. Something that actually does work, like a tennis ball shooter or something like that, because those things actually exist. When you think about it, so we were talking about how can you blast coconuts out of a tube. So, they probably uses the same technology as how they shoot tennis balls for practicing. Yeah.
But how can a monkey speak English?
Yeah, good question. So you're not supposed to think too much about that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should get on to another game now.
Okay.
I want to get on to Smash, but I'm not all too I don't know all too much. Like, I do know some of the weird character inclusions in the game. Okay, so when they were making Smash, after they were done and everything, they had a prototype of the game. Because, after Sakurai got the rights, he showed everyone a demo with Fox, Samus, Mario, and Luigi, I think.
Okay, so what is Smash? When did that come out?
I'm not sure. It's a Mario fighting game.
Okay, Mario Smash.
No, just type in Super Smash Bros.
This is not the new one from.
Just put in Smash 64. Yeah, you should put in Smash 64.
Super Smash 64.
Yeah.
Alright. Because that was a fairly new game, the Smash Brothers you had in that.
Yeah. That one.
Right. So Nintendo 64, Super Smash Ultimate. Is that the one?
No, it's Smash 60. This one.
Okay. So this one.
Yeah. That's the cover of the game.
Okay. Download that.
And there's a picture of the roster that I wanted to show off to
This
you.
one?
Yeah. So, you see the character inclusions like Luigi, Ness, Jigglypuff, and Falcon.
Yeah.
Falcon actually kind of has an interesting story.
Yeah.
So what was going on is he had extra characters that he needed to put in the game. And, Smash was called Dragon Fighters originally. So what they did was, when they were making Falcon, they just redesigned the Dragon Fighter and renamed him. And that's how Falcon came in Smash, because they had an extra slot to put a character.
Okay.
And F-Zero came out a while ago, and they were having they had a new one on N64.
Yeah.
So they put Falcon in. Like, no one knew who Falcon was at the time, and I wouldn't blame them. I don't think many people know that he comes from F-Zero, but
Is it Captain Falcon?
yeah,
The one
Captain Falcon.
Okay.
Yeah, the one on the one on the right.
Okay.
So,
Where's Peach?
she isn't in this game, I don't think.
Was she? Has she been introduced by this?
She was introduced in the next game. The next game was what brought Smash into mainstream, like to everywhere.
Alright.
It was a game called Smash Melee.
Okay.
Don't look at that. You don't really need to look at that, because we're talking about N64. We'll look at that later. But Peach, Bowser didn't come until the next game. There are a few characters missing here,
Okay.
but we got Kirby, Mario, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Young Link, Fox, Pikachu, and Samus.
Mm.
So, yeah, Falco didn't come until Melee 2. So, Melee was Melee and Ultimate is probably the two biggest Smash games.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very competitive too. So, that's what brought Smash into. That was what made Smash very big. Those two games, is because Melee was glitchy but very good.
I see.
Because they only had, because this was a fighting game.
Yeah.
They only had like 1 year to do it, and they had to add a lot of characters.
Okay.
So, like Smash 64, they had a lot of time to do that. Melee, not so much. They only had 1 year to do Melee with a lot of characters and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, like there are a lot of reskins of characters.
Yeah.
Mr. Gaming Watch, you know him, right? Because Game and Watch.
Oh yeah, I used to own one. Snoopy Tennis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he actually used the same model as Mario.
Okay.
And that's very interesting because not a lot of people would know that, and it's because Mr. Gaming Watch is I think would be an extra character in Melee 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure he might be better than Mario. I'm not 100% sure. I've never looked at tier lists of these characters. But we're on Smash 64 now. So they had these. You wouldn't get Luigi, Ness, Jigglypuff, or Falcon when you first play the game, but you get the first eight. You get 8 characters when you begin. Luigi is probably the weakest character. Like, not the weakest. He's a reskin of Mario, just with higher voice clips.
Okay.
Mario, he's Mario. Not all too much. Donkey Kong, he's a big character, but the best character in Smash 64 would actually be Pikachu.
Okay.
Because of some of the attacks he has, I don't know.
Pikachu, oh yeah. Pikachu, isn't that like
a Pokemon character?
Pokemon character, yeah.
And I don't know why they had Ness in the game. I guess he was just another character they could fit in.
Yeah.
In fact, in fact, 6 months after this game came out, they were thinking of what characters to put into Smash.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a kind of a poll to ask what characters they would like.
Mm-hmm.
And this was Smash Melee. It's a very good game. A lot of people play this game, and there's a lot of competitive players in this game, right?
Okay.
And so there was only 1,000 people on the poll for this game, and not a lot of people had access to that. And that's actually how Bowser got in the game. Is there was 189 votes for that.
I see.
He was the most voted character.
Yeah.
If you know, a lot more people knew about that poll, there would have been a lot of, you know, people voting, but for what character?
So this is for the character, but whose idea was Bowser?
Fans, because there was a poll for for what characters they wanted.
Okay.
And Bowser was the most voted.
So this guy, I often see him as the bad guy in many, like, you know, many of the games that I've played. So is he always a bad guy?
I think Mario teams up with him in some games, but most of the time, yeah.
Okay, so so you're saying that there was a poll for Bowser?
Yeah, it won't exist anymore. It won't exist anymore.
Okay. List of playing. Okay, so current Nintendo Bowser.
Smash
Nintendo Bowser. Okay, so let's find out.
You won't be able to access it anymore. It came around in the 90s.
Okay, Doug Bowser is no, that's not the guy.
You won't be able to show it here.
Bowser character. Well, we can find out a little bit of history. So
No,
Bowser,
you're not. Bowser Smash Melee poll. Try that. I don't think you're gonna find it. It's MELEE. There was a poll for... Yeah, you're not gonna find it, Dad.
Okay. All right.
I can send you some screenshots if I ever see any.
All right.
So...
Okay.
Yeah, that's how Bowser came into Smash, because everyone voted him in a poll that came around 1999, I think. And so, not a lot of people had access to that poll, or not a lot of people knew.
Yeah.
But I'm sure a lot of people would have if it came out now, but it didn't. And there was just not a lot of people.
There's something here that I can see. Poll.
It's not gonna come up.
So, top 20 most requested new characters: Koopa, Super Mario Series 169, Bowser. What?
Yeah, that shows all the votes that everyone voted.
Okay. Princess Peach, Super Mario Series 66. Alright. So the second poll results are for new character suggestion. However, it only displays the top 20 characters. In descending order. Look at the third one if you want to see every character on the no. Okay. So some of you might okay. Sakurai conducted official polls in Japanese for suggestions in the game. The results of these polls have not been posted yet. However, the last game also had official character poll conducted in Japan. The results for these were posted on official websites later on. The following are those character polls results, translated by me. Hopefully, this will clear up some of the confusion and misinformation on the matter. So, favorite characters from Smash Brothers. Okay, that's Kirby, Ness, Link.
We're gonna cut this all out, right? Kind of boring.
Okay, so we might have this one because this kind of reinforces what you're saying.
Yeah, this didn't look like what the original poll looked like, but
okay.
Yeah.
Alright. So go on.
But the funny thing is, Bowser was the most requested,
Yes.
in Smash Melee, but he ended up being the worst character in the game.
Okay.
It kind of sucks, not gonna lie, but
Well,
you know.
yeah. Sometimes you just start off that way.
Yeah, in fact, most of the characters from Smash Ultimate were actually supposed to make an appearance in Melee.
Yeah.
But Sakurai, when he was making Melee, he only took 1 day off
Yeah.
while making that. In fact, that 1 day off, he spent in the hospital because he worked so hard on the game.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah,
can relate to
he almost never took a break from it. You know, but gee, working on a game that you probably won't play, kind of, you know, would
Suck.
yeah. And then you having to pass out and go to the hospital.
Well, that's the culture. It's a part of the Japanese culture. They don't just treat the company they work as an employee. They treat it as family, and you kind of you're kind of a company man. And once you join a company, you're not just an employee there. You know, you're more than that. You sort of dedicate your life to that company. So yes, I can see how certain people, you know, go ahead and beyond to, you know, work outside their normal hours in order to, you know, bring some vision to life. You know, dad does that too sometimes. Yeah, you know, dad's supposed to be working 9 to 5, but you see him working all the time. You know, so of course
Yeah.
he doesn't work with the same, you know, pace and intensity as if he would in the 9 to 5. He works a bit slower, but you know, instead of working 9 to 5, he just works longer. And so, yeah, it's the same thing. Some people just most people in our part of the world treat it as a job, you know, and you're the employer. But there are, you know, some cultures, especially like in Japan, it's just different. Yeah, so I can see how they're dedicated to. Um,
Yeah, we should do some Smash Melee competitive playing and show you. You know, the game's glitchy, but it's very good. And you know, they added in all those characters.
yeah.
Like, who was supposed to make an appearance in Melee? I know that, hold on. I know Ice Climbers made an appearance. I can't remember any of them, but I do know most of the characters from Ultimate. I even think K. Rool was considered for a bit. Like, I'm not sure that's been confirmed or not, but he must have been, right? Like, they bothered adding in DK, and they added K. Rool in the newest game, so you know they must have considered him. But yeah, that's something that happened. No, never mind actually. But yeah. Back to the N64. Have you ever heard of a game called? I think it was just called Cabbage.
No.
It was the game that inspired Wii Sports. I think Mii's. Very it's inspired a lot from Nintendo that they still use today.
Need me? What's a me?
It's kind of like Avatar for your Nintendo.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, for your Nintendo thing.
Yeah, so that's called me because you know when Nintendo Wii came in first,
Yeah, I know.
you know, and it's kind of a big deal because you were able to do cool stuff like bowling and all that stuff, and
And you'd use Mii's.
and it was very good. Yeah, we played it right, but then at the same time, I remember. I mean, I used to be an employee in this company. They had a console called Me console. So it was literally like a rip-off of Wii, but with you know, it literally cost like a tenth of what the Wii cost, and and I still remember it till today that you know I think it cost like $40 or something like that, and I remember reading an interesting article about it. So if your dad is a tight ass, if your dad is a cheap shot and does not want to dish out the extra bucks to get you a Nintendo Wii console for Christmas, enter me console and everything. Yeah, I mean, I've had a look at it, and it seems, I don't, yeah, in terms of the quality, the craftsmanship, I'm pretty sure that even the gameplay was nowhere near. But shout out to the new console. If let's see if it's there.
You'll show a picture of it on the screen now.
Yeah, so it was the Mii console, and it was a rip-off of the Wii console. Nintendo Wii.
What did it look like?
Uh,
Just put in knockoff or rip off.
Wii. Yeah, I think that was it. Nintendo knockoff.
Mii.
Nintendo Wii knockoffs that were better than the Wii U.
It's because everyone makes fun of the Wii U for the sales and what they did on it.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, I can't find this Mii console here, but Mii console knockoff, yeah. So it was there. So Mii Wikipedia customer. So yeah, Mii console. Okay, so obviously it's disappeared from YouTube, so it's gone and forgotten. But yeah, I still remember. For under $50, you were able to get a console that had all those tennis rackets and everything that the Wii console had to do. So yeah. What were we talking about anyway? Before we went on the tangent.
Smash.
Smash
64, yeah.
Smash 64. So what was different? What was different about Smash? How was it different from, let's just say, Street Fighter or something?
Yeah, so Smash was originally made to be like an easy fighting game, kind of.
Okay.
Because Street Fighter, you'll need to hold these different combinations of buttons so you could do like a Hadouken or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Smash, all you need to do is do a side A or B, and you'd pull a move off, or just A or B. You'd have these short moves. You'd have these moves that wouldn't take much effort to do. It wouldn't take much learning to learn.
Okay.
So you could do like combos easy and all that. It was it's probably one of the best fighting games ever. Because they've got Street Fighter characters in them.
Yeah.
Some other video game characters.
Was there blood in it? When you
No, there's no blood in it. No.
So
Certainly no.
So if you lived in the 90s, what games would you think would have been playing the most?
I would have actually, like, what year in the 90s? Like 99?
Maybe from 92 to around 89, 99. Sorry.
I would be playing Smash because that sold good. I would have, I'd take your word and play GoldenEye.
Of course. We would have been, if we both exist, we can still do that, but, let's not go there because it's going to open a whole new can of worms. But yeah, we could have been GoldenEye partners. Yeah, that would have been awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I spent most of my 90s playing Contra from Konami.
Yeah.
I told you about it. A friend of mine had that, and it had like many versions. There was one Contra version where you had like 600 lives or something like that. And yeah, I finished a single mode game in that version many times.
You played Alien Wars, right? That was the one. played a lot, right?
Well, see, Contra came out around the time when Arnold Schwarzenegger was a big shot in Hollywood. He made movies like Predator and Commando, and the sort of the opening scene of Contra. The Contra opening scene.
I know. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it. You don't really. Dad, I've seen it.
So I just want to save the image. That's all.
Alright.
So Contra opening shot. As soon as you saw that,
Yeah.
you were like, aha, that's it's sort of
So
very
you
much.
played. So you played the NES version.
I'm not too sure what version he had. I think he had that version with the red buttons or whatever. So as soon as you saw that, yeah, I want that big guys with muscles, with guns. That's what I want to do. So it was. I played I played Contra a lot at that time, and then when I got the PC and the CD-ROM and all, I was introduced to Mortal Kombat. So I tried Mortal Kombat 1, to be honest, and it never stuck with me because I found the game to be unstable. It used to crash and all, but the images were amazing. Like if you look at people like Johnny Cash, they had the real bodies and all. Like it was taken from real photographs. But then eventually, sooner or later, I was introduced to Mortal Kombat 2, which is an extremely stable game. Right from the start,
Yeah.
and that's that started something very special. Like I know my friend Alan, shout out to MCL out there. It's from high school. Now he was never really a computer games guy anyway, and he didn't even own a computer at that time. So he was. He took casual interest in computer games, but when he saw Mortal Kombat 2, something flipped. There was a switch inside his mind. He really got interested in this game. Yeah, I mean, to the point that he would he actually went and found out about he got a magazine or something from a friend
Yeah.
that had all the finishing moves. Like we didn't know, like there were all these different types of finishing moves, like fatality, babality, friendship, and all kinds of stuff. And we didn't know and those finishing moves, you had to press special sequence of buttons
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
those.
It
So
was very
so he brought that, and even till today, when we talk about the 90s, he likes to, it's sort of the cornerstone of his memories from the 90s about the video games. In fact, he still relives it, and I don't blame him, because it was such an incredible game. Like it had all these crazy moves. Like one of the most popular characters, Liu Kang. He had this thing called the bicycle kick, which is hilarious. It's like he just and he's just kicking someone like with his paddling his feet while flying. So it looks like he's flying. He's riding a bicycle while kicking someone. And it was just hilarious to watch. And then he had the finishing move called the dragon move, where he turns into a dragon and bites off half of one of the characters. And then the girls were very, very sexy. The characters they used, like Kitana and everyone. And I remember, and then there was one character, I don't know. She had the kiss of death. Like when she takes she's very beautiful from outside, but she's wearing a mask. But when she takes the mask down, you can see that she's got like teeth and stuff. And she will give you a kiss or something, and she she sucks out your entire body, like, and spits out your skeleton and stuff. And it was such a crazy fighting game for its time, and very stable too. I've never, I mean, of all the computer games that I played during that time, Combat 2 was probably one of the games that actually did not crash, or didn't go to the. It was just very well done, and we finished it in. I finished it many times in all different modes, obviously, and sometimes it just gets tough. There were some secret characters that you were able to release. I remember if you beat someone like 25 times or something like that, it will unleash a character called Noob. What's his name? Noob. Noob. Noob Cellbot. Okay, so this was a mystery character that if you I think you have to beat a certain character to 25 times or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, so you are unlock this character, and this guy was hard to beat, and at the same time there was another character called Jade, who becomes later on a main character, but in MK2 she was a hidden character. You were a locked character. So if you beat a certain match simply by one move, I think the low kick or something, you unlock a character, and she's got this green dress, and she's like Kitana. She's basically a green version of it, but God, she was tough. She would just whoop your ass, and she was hard to beat. So yeah, but yeah. So if you are going to ask me about my 90s video game experience, I don't really have much to say. I started off with an Atari, and then a friend of mine got a Nintendo, so we played a lot of Contra in it. And then of course at the same time I had a PC. My first PC was a 386SX, and it had a game called Prince of Persia installed in it. And the Prince of Persia game, that was kind of fun. I spent ages. I think you get like 1 hour to finish the whole game. and and it was I would say it was a fairly advanced game. There were a lot of challenges, a lot of things you had to do, and I was addicted to that game. I played that game a lot. There was, and of course there were the point and click adventure games that came out around that time as well, from Sierra Online, and those were fun. There was like and LucasArts games. So finally, when I got the CD-ROM, there was a game called Sam and Max Hit the Road, and it was hilarious. I mean, it's a game that will hold even today. I think, in fact, they made remastered versions of that game, and I think iPad. They even had iOS chapters released, like you can play. So it was very funny, very 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 interesting. Whoever did the script did a brilliant job. So I remember playing that a lot, and there were so many point and click adventure games that I got stuck in, and of course Mortal Kombat and Contra, so can't forget those. And yeah, I would say after that, because I was living in Oman, which was we were slightly privileged, but by the time I came to Sri Lanka, I lost my interest in games. So I wasn't playing any games by then. I didn't have a computer even, I was borrowing. So I didn't play anything much until, until of course I came to Australia, and then I picked up with Nintendo 64, and then briefly after that I got my own computer, and then I went through a massive game phase briefly there, because believe it or not, there was a company a video rental company that was renting out PC games. Like and so we figured out what to do. I mean, I should probably not be even talking about it, but so we were able to install any PC game and play literally. So and return it like a video, like a DVD. So that was fun. So we got to play a lot of games. I'm sure many people also the DVD, CVD burners were then, so I'm sure many people burned a copy as well. So they had the game before they returned it. So at that time, I got into a lot of games like Soldier of Fortune and Red Alert 2. I was addicted to Red Alert 2. I actually finished the whole game, believe it or not, and that was so much fun. Diablo 2 was so much fun. I was addicted to that one. And then I tried your Metal Gear Solid. I didn't go that far, but I finished many of the Lara Croft games, Tomb Raider games at the same time as well. So,
Oh yeah, nice.
yeah.
You think Lara Croft was based off of anyone?
That's hard to say.
You know,
Lara Croft was based on Indiana Jones, which the original character scrapped the idea using a male of the lead role in Mysterious. So in other words, as soon as she's 23, and giving the story, the creator of Lara Croft. The original model that was used for the concept design of Lara Croft was Natalie Cook. Okay, so that doesn't mean anything. It's just a girl that.
voice acted.
No, it's not. It's not. It's the girl that they based the image of. But she was in no way, you know, adventurous or adventurous. She was not. She was just a model or whatever. Okay. I'll just say the fact. So this is Natalie Cook. Okay, so the version I got from this is that Lara Croft is based on Indiana Jones, and we've already talked about the man that Indiana Jones was based on, which is Roy Chapman Andrews. So I guess Lara Croft was a sexy, feminine, female version of Roy Chapman Andrews. I guess just yeah, a rich girl who's bored and goes on adventures. Yes, just I'm sure there's a. Yeah, I'm sure there's a little bit of. I mean, I can see the resemblance between Indiana Jones and Lara Croft in some ways. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, so.
So
all boys love Lara Croft because, of course, she had she was very attractive and the gameplay was fun. You just climb a lot of stuff, and it was all about climbing and finding. It was challenging to sometimes to actually find ways to get over certain places, and the graphics were incredible for its time. Like you go into a hall and there's like this giant water pools and all, and it was just all mind blowing. And I believe I finished at least 5 Tomb Raider games. So I went through a Lara Croft phase, and I know that there was some when Angelina Jolie was selected to play Lara Croft. There was some pushback. Not everyone thought that Angelina Jolie was the right character for Laura, because I don't know, guys, immature males. So I mean, it's not like Tomb Raider they were very good movies anyway. Like they were pretty shallow, but almost video game movies. But they were still fun. And yeah, and 1 and 2 I've seen them both, and they were okay. But I mean, my favorite Lara Croft moment was I think it was Tomb Raider 4, the beginning part. You see these two people in the desert, and they fall into this abyss or whatever. And the way it gets, and you don't see their faces. Tomb Raider 4.
Tomb Raider 5.
Tomb Raider 4. Tomb Raider 5 was a con.
What?
Tomb Raider 5. So you see the desert, right? And you see these two Arabs. So you gotta remember, this is the early 2000s. You know what I mean? Like, this is not today. So these two Arab men are going in the desert. This is the start of the game. So this is the first time, you think it's a man, but it's Lara behind the cake, and then
I mean,
it's
I would guess it's a woman by the voice clips.
yeah, but it's still, it's such a stylish entrance into the game. You know what I mean? It's you think that the two people are like some victims who fell into a hole, like in Indian Jones, but then suddenly you take the cape off, and you see that she's the hero, she's the main character, and I think I've always been fascinated with that intro, I loved it. I've seen it so many times. Yeah, just and I played this game a lot. I'm not too sure if there's gonna be a new one upcoming, but I think I'm kind of over it, this type of gameplay. So but it was fun. Yeah, during the early 2000s, Tomb Raider gave me a lot of pleasure. And then of course I got introduced to Max Payne, and I have never missed a single Max Payne game, as you know. Yeah,
There wasn't that many Max Payne games, was there?
there's only 3. So the third one ends with him. So he's rather old in the third one, and he's not the skinny, the flamboyant Max Payne. He's more like the guy who constantly needs aspirins or whatever to keep his head straight. So, but it ends with him taking a relaxing. He takes he chooses a sort of a relaxing vacation or something like that. But the game itself was brilliant. The way, especially like the way they portrayed the slums in Sao Paulo, like the parties and the underground parties,
Yeah.
and just that part was mind blowing. It was just, I mean, Max Payne is, if there's one thing they're good at, is they really just focus on people having fun playing the game. That's what it is. I mean, once you start it, you can't stop it. You just want to finish it. So you might, go to work, come back, and start playing it. It might take you 2-3 days, but you're going to end up finishing it. That's what's great about it. So it's just designed that way. It's yeah. So I really look forward to another Max Payne game. I mean, I wish they release one. And as you can see, I think we need to finish this quickly because we are running low on this space. So I need yeah.
Alright, so should we just end it here?
We should end it here. Just say something what we are going to talk about in the next episode. And
GameCube. We'll do GameCube in the next episode, maybe. We have a few ideas. 64DD. That one's definitely going to be coming out soon. Or could be coming out the next time.
So yeah, I think we are going to end it here. So, but you want to talk about the 64DD and GameCube?
Yeah, or 64DD or GameCube. That's two suggestions we have right now.
Okay, so you have
but it might be something different.
You got some research material lined up about?
Yeah, some of the 64DD, not a lot on the GameCube, but we will look into the GameCube too.
Okay, so you got to show me some videos and stuff so I know what to, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Alright.
So, alright. Well, we'll tune in for the next time. I hope some of the information we brought about were helpful. Yeah, and be safe. Take care.